lost the stream for a minute. But you're saying
bottom line, the four are YPO, EO, Vistage with a V, and YEC. YEC smaller, and not often always smaller companies, but a lot more nimble and very startup focused and very, again, making me look fairly old school, but a lot of new exciting companies, really smart men and women. And then EO and Vistage, very entrepreneur, active. You are active in as maybe a president or a C-level or even a CEO that's very, very active. It's been for my president, Patrick, he's loved it. And then YPO is the most difficult to get into, but they're all wonderful. So I wish 7-8 years ago I knew that any of these existed. So if you are at a VP level, if you're certainly an entrepreneur, or at the C level of a company, YEC, Vistage, EO, and YPO are those four that they're national and they're probably wherever you live. I would just do some research because all of them have been for either myself or my president, Patrick, just could not be more thankful every year to write that check. And there are very few things where I'm stoked to write a check every year just without knowing what's going to happen the next year.
When you talk about the ROI for those, can you give me some examples of what you see as sort of the benefit?
Most often, there have been from a straight out, time and money. So not just running a check for the dues and fees, getting on airplanes, going to events. We're really good at what we do. So I don't think people would give us the business just because we're members, but we're really good at what we do. Also, I've got the fortune of in one or two of the networks that I'm involved with, there's not a lot of 21st century digital marketing agencies. So there's also, we would under-index in the type of work that we do, so there's good opportunities there. So yeah, ROI, from a networking standpoint, which I feel it's really important not to treat them like networking.
Right.
I feel that these things are much more for, especially, I did not have a pedigree as a CEO. It was primarily to just trust tree, share problems, and also like, hey Rhett, I have got no idea what the hell to do with this problem. Have you had this problem?
Right.
And that was that. And then not to expect real business, but that's happened. But
once you form relationships,
sure.
What you're talking about is you're forming real friendships, real relationships.
But one of the things I like is that, I'll use YPO as an example, there's an omerta like you don't solicit. Well, I like that because I get sold. How many phone calls, I'm sure your audience, how many phone calls do you or I get, or does your audience get?
Daily.
I get 4 or 5 phone calls, 20 emails trying to sell me stuff. That's not why I'm a member of these things. And I say join these for the intrapersonal benefit. Don't join them for I'm gonna make some new clients. That's not why you join these things. But to your point, that's I think if you're good at what you do and you're a good human, and you don't try to weaponize them for business, that would be an eventuality.
Right. Well, I think
that's a good question.
Well, no, but it's I look at it as a long-term view, right? I want the friendships, the relationships, the camaraderie,
100%.
And
someone calling bullshit.
Right.
Accountability.
There's an accountability.
Who's got no skin in the game? It's basically a lot of these are like a free board.
And you have to share. That's part of the thing too, right?
All right. This is not for if you're a wallflower and you're doing it. Honestly, why write the check?
Yeah.
Why write the check? Why make the time if you're not going to put time in it?
Because I know that with Vistage, that's a whole part of it is that you do share your issues and you share your right. What I wanted to ask you a little bit as a business. So many times you were talking about getting sold. I get 20 SEO emails a day on LinkedIn. I get, I get, you need a website, you need an app, you need a page for a landing page for the, and frankly I'm tired of it. But I want to know how do I know what I need, and how do I know if I'm hiring somebody that's bad, somebody that's a snake oil salesman, versus an agency like the Level Agency, where I know I'm going to get a good product?
Well, it's not
because
just
not every business is a good fit for
correct
you, right? And
correct.
So how do I pick a good agency that really?
Yeah,
knows?
there is a terrifyingly small percentage, and there are good reasons. It's not because people are dumb or bad or lazy. Most executives don't know the difference between SEO and SEM, and not just CEOs, but chief marketing officers. I would bet 80 or 90, and we're very lucky to work with smaller, great companies and multi-billion dollar top line revenue companies. And I'm talking about, of all the C-levels I've met, very few know the difference between SEO and SEM, know why, as a B2B company, you should Facebook, and why as a B2C company, you should LinkedIn. And normally people in B2B think, well, Facebook's not for business, which is insanely wrong. I mean, insanely wrong. So there is such an...
I think I've said that before.
Is such a lack of... Again, so the challenge is that no one goes to school for these things. And so I would give the example that men and women that are at the C-level mostly, look, I started 20 years ago and I'm a grandfather in digital, so I'm 41. It didn't exist for the most part. So most men and women are in their 40s and 50s running large companies at the C-level. There is no pedigree, there has been no education, there has been no proliferation of like baseline 21st century marketing 101, know your stuff. It hasn't been proliferated. And marketing agencies, it's incumbent upon us to teach them, but if I can sell you something you don't really need but you're going to pay me money for and you don't really understand 6 months later, I mean, it's so tempting for many, and there's a lot of good agencies out there, but there are a lot of snake oil salesmen and women or companies there's actually a lot of bad marketing. There's a lot of agencies that actually aren't good, but there's the supply and demand curve. This many companies need it, this many people are good at it, so you're going to have this many things that are being done wrong. And I would say, to directly answer your question, C-level executives, it is incumbent upon you to self-educate. Now, I'm not saying my book is the answer, but you should read a book like mine. There's a bunch of other resources that are free out there. I mean, my ebook's $2, but like there are free resources out there. I believe it's a requirement as an executive in a company in the 21st century. And I don't care if you're B2B, high value B2C, e-com, I don't care. And let me give you an example. Everyone would agree that it's irresponsible for a CEO for her to say, I don't know the difference between a balance sheet and an income statement because I'm not an accountant.
Right.
My CFO deals with that. So I think everyone would agree, that would be irresponsible.
Wouldn't go over well. Right.
You as a CEO need to know, have a baseline financial understanding. And not just say, well, that's my CFO's job. I would also contend that a CEO, it would be incredibly dumb for them to say, look, I don't know what an NDA is. I don't know about any about your fancy legal terms. I've got a general counsel for that. I've got a law firm. Why do I need it? What's an NDA? Like, you would throw your CEO, if you were the board, you would throw that CEO off the roof.
Right.
I'm telling you, it is the same thing as a CEO not knowing the difference between SEO and SEM. And I mean not one sentence like the high-level boilerplate BS version. I mean really know the difference. Really know the difference. Know exactly why what's called organic social is different than paid social. Why every company on earth has to run retargeting ads on social media and in display. Why you should run and what are called custom audience campaigns in Facebook. So people think the things I just said are buzzwordy and marketing. It's the same thing as if I as a CEO said, I don't know what an income statement is. What are they? Whoa, stop giving me all this fancy accounting speak.
I don't need that.
I don't need that. I've got a CFO. It's as irresponsible. And in 10 years, it'll be the same thing. When I say to, when you ask a CEO, especially a CMO, what is your high-level digital marketing strategy? And if they are not able to give you a 3 to 5 minute, like, here's the framework, but you know what? I'm not really in the weeds. Let me tell you exactly what kind of campaigns we're running with LinkedIn. Let me tell you, I know we've got a landing page strategy, but let me kick you to our VP to really explain. But if they can't give you a 3-minute explanation of the baseline 101 level of digital marketing, it's the same thing as a CEO going, look, an income statement, whoa, I can't speak to that. So again, I think it's incumbent upon C-level executives to do some self-education, because we all went to undergrad, some of us went to grad school. You are taught baseline accounting, baseline finance, baseline stuff. No one is taught the baseline marketing because it didn't exist when you were taught. But that doesn't mean you can ignore it, because to directly answer your question, the only way to stop getting sold stupid stuff you don't need or stuff that's snake oil, you got to know the difference. You can't rely on marketers because you are trusting, and there's some wolves out there. You're trusting some, not all marketers are wolves, but you're trusting everyone to not be a wolf in a hen house.
Right.
How do you think that's going to go?
Not
right?
well. So what are those baselines, right? So I just hear you say that, and I'm thinking to myself, well, geez, now I'm worried.
Sure. So we cover it in the book a little bit. So what I would call, what my agency calls the core 4 things. But you could read my book. Look, if you read my book and in 200 and whatever pages, you don't have stuff to immediately do next week, like I'll Venmo them the money. But okay, not even kidding. Like everything is like it is for every company on earth, and I guarantee you, 9 out of 10 people watching this are not doing all of these things, and the 1 out of 10 that's doing 2 or 3, they're not doing all 4. Okay. No, very few are doing all of them, unless you're a digital marketing agency.
Right.
And even digital marketing agencies aren't doing all of them, which is insane. I would say that in general, taking a step back from the real tactical stuff that I have in this book,
right,
you need to understand what search engines can do, the difference between what is called organic search and paid search. You really got to understand the difference of how Google and Bing work. It is irresponsible in the 21st century. I don't care if you're a 150-year-old manufacturing company, a SaaS platform, selling pencils or Ferraris, or an e-com company, it doesn't matter. Like if you are a company on earth, you need to understand how Google and Bing operate from an organic and paid standpoint.
Okay.
Most think they do and most don't. Okay? Social networks, the same thing. What getting likes on Facebook and views and shares on LinkedIn can do, but why that's very different than paid advertising, and why this world is talking to current enthusiasts of your brand and go getting new ones. Mm-hmm. And you don't need to know what the back end of Facebook's advertising platform looks like. I mean, I do just because that's part of my work. But you need to understand why they're different and why they're important. Same thing with some of the more from a reporting standpoint. If you don't understand as a business owner, because you're going to do marketing and sales, if you don't understand the cost per acquisition, what we call the CPA or the cost per sell, how much it costs to get a new customer,
right?
From trade shows, I'm talking traditional and digital, trade shows, TV, print, radio, Google, Bing, Yahoo, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn,
right?
If you can't as a CMO and on a quarterly basis as a CEO, if you don't have in front of you on a piece of paper like the numbers, like channel by channel, not like red ad versus blue ad, but by channel, what your cost per acquisition was to get a new customer, if you can't do that, you're already dead, you just don't know it. And maybe not this year, maybe not in 5 years, but your competition does, and that is the only way to responsibly spend money. It's like if you're in a NASCAR race and you're the only one that's blindfolded. Yeah. Like you've got to make a left-hand turn a lot.
Yeah.
But how much? So I would just urge executives, understand search engines better, understand social networks. They are to get customers. They're not just for fun, or we wouldn't spend money on them. And from a reporting standpoint, you on a quarterly basis should know channel by channel, or rather platform. So a channel's search engine versus social networks. A platform is Google versus Bing. You got to know on a platform level how much we do this stuff. We have TV ads. We do conferences and events. How many customers? At the end of the day, how many new leads and customers did you get? And if you don't know that, that means no one else in your organization knows that, which means they're not making decisions based on that, which means they're setting money on fire.
Right. Oh, you're blowing money.
So that's it.
You're absolutely blowing.
And there's and there is the very tactical ways to do that in my book. But in general, those are the things. And for the most part, there's some Google. You don't think Google provides a wealth of material for free to help educate the business population? They do that. So this is not secret.
Do you believe in shows, in trade shows?
I do. I think. All right. So, what kind of shoes do the cobbler's sons wear? Right? So in my world of marketing, we're a digital first company. At some point I would want to, and I think my president, my senior vice president would want to, look, I don't hate TV, print, radio, and billboards just because it's old, numb, new. I hate it because it's priced wrong. Because the ROI sucks. Because it costs too much. Look, I will buy ads. I will buy ads on the Goodyear blimp when the cost comes down. I will. And I can tie that into a unique 800 phone number or a tiny URL or something where I can track. So it's about, you have to be able to track it, because if you can't track it, don't do it. So when you run a TV spot that doesn't have what's called a direct response, a way to call somebody or something, unless you're Coke or Pepsi, why in the hell are you doing it, right? But if you can track the number of people that come to a specific 800 number or a website, or they have a discount code or a coupon or whatever, I care about the ROI. And ROI at the end of the day is about money out and customers in, and the delta in profit, right? Math. This is what we do. And so I don't hate old school stuff because I hate it. I hate it because it's got a terrible ROI. But we have done this year 3 or 4 conferences and events, and I think those are important, but we do treat them like every other channel. There have to be qualified, there have to be leads that come from it that turn into qualified sales leads that turn into customers.
Okay.
Because you have to hold your entire marketing portfolio to the same standard.
How do you do that at a show? How do you guys do that?
It's real easy. I mean, whether it's me personally or one of my executive members or one of our salespeople, you know who you talk to. I mean, that's a very manual process, but it goes into you have a human being that then goes on your CRM, and it's whether they become
track that. You get into that.
It's all in your CRM. It's all. And again, I'm talking mostly about B2B and high value B2C. The world of e-commerce.
Right.
The world of e-commerce, that's a different world because you've just got to be around. There's a bit of like, not beat the Joneses, but compete with the Joneses. Right. You know, a lot of my friends run consumer packaged goods companies or manufacturing companies. They got to be there because their competition's there, and it's a B2B play. Right. But for B2B and high value B2C, you're doing it so you generate leads that turn to sales. Right. So like even conferences, like
visibility.
Put them in your CRM and see if they turn into clients. Yeah. But again, obviously, anything digital, you're tracking to the penny. What customers come from it.
Are there any clients that you can talk about, or any visible companies that we would all know that have and are doing digital marketing really well? Because I mean, to me, it's an area where I think and a lot of the clients that I coach, I bet if I ask them, do you have a digital marketing strategy or plan, they'd say, oh no, that's just all part of my marketing, right? And they've lumped it into, but to me, it's so people can sort of get an idea of what we're really talking about. Are there some companies that are visible that are doing this really well that you can say, okay, I get that now. I get what you're saying.
I mean, I'm incredibly tempted. Hey, what are the most attractive kids in the world? Like, well, they're my kids. Right, they're who's got the best wife? I mean, I've got the best wife. And yours is fun. Right. So I'm very tempted to say all of our clients are doing awesome work and everyone else is terrible. That's not true. So let me be not that self-aggrandizing. I do think so. Not level agency clients. If I was going to be not incredibly self-serving, I feel when people are looking for. That's something that's really, really visible, so it's something that you won't have to look for because you probably see it every day or every week. Number one. Number two, that it would be an example of a best practice. Right. I do think that, and again, this is something that's visible and is a best practice. And the most visible thing, when you wake up in the morning and you're on Facebook or Instagram, I do think there are a lot of consumer good companies that have done a very, very, very good job. And I won't name names, but like some make beds, some make shaving products, it's basically like the online disruptors who are competing against Gillette razors, who are competing against like Serta mattresses. It's the competitors, it's the .com new VC-backed startups in the space. And again, I'm assuming because they're doing a really good job on Facebook and Instagram and a little bit on LinkedIn, that they're also doing a good job on Google and Bing and search engines, that they're doing a good job from a turning visitors on the website into customers and leads, that then maybe even testing some traditional advertising that works. So I am assuming that because you're really good at a really hard thing, you're good at the easier stuff.
Right.
So there's an assumption, but I would look to, if you're looking for, and it doesn't have to be apples to apples. So just because you run a SaaS company, or you're purely B2B, like we're purely B2B,
right?
That doesn't mean that I can't look to, again, it's not our agency running some of the good stuff in the world. We, I think, are pound for pound one of the best. But a lot of the companies in the past 3 years that are the disruptors, they're competing, they're the new razor company, they're the new mattress company. And to give you an example of what they're doing well, to compete and win in customer generation in the 21st century, a big, if not the biggest piece has to be social media. It's not just Google anymore. It is very much Facebook, it very is much Instagram, not so much Snap, not so much Twitter from an ROI standpoint, but just Facebook and Instagram. LinkedIn is getting there. When you see something in your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed that's very rich media based, it's a really nice video that's attractive, that's compelling, where you yourself, whether you need that product or not, that you have given that advertisement 10 seconds of your brain. You gave it 10 seconds of your brain because it's compelling and there's an interesting message, but you're not in the market for a mattress, whatever. You're not the right customer.
Right.
Well, you are the right customer, but you're actually not interested. But you could afford it. You're a dude and they're selling you razors. So it has to be inappropriate for you,
right.
And you could afford it. And the only difference is maybe you're actually not you're not a buyer right now, but it got your attention for 3 to 7 to 10 seconds. And anytime you've got something in social media with all the white noise where the advertisement got your attention because the messaging was, the call to action was compelling, it was an interesting ad, and you were just on that website 5 minutes ago.
Yep.
You were on that website 5 minutes ago. Actually, I just met a guy last night. Fascinating young guy, runs a awesome, based in Charleston, fishing equipment company. Super cool guy. And sure enough, we're talking last night, within 3.5 minutes of me ending the conversation, getting on the elevator, checking the text messages for my wife, and then on Facebook, within 3 minutes, I've got what's called a retargeted ad, because I was just on his website, and they were showing me a good 30-second video spot that's speaking to not just the fact that I was on the homepage, that I went to his product page. I went to like product A, and the video wasn't the general video, it was the specific product video. Because it knew not just I was a visitor, but I was on that exact page. And they have 10 videos waiting to show me, and they showed me this one because that was the page I was on. And that was good. So, that would be an example of best practice to digital advertising. Actually, you know what? Where's this card? I forgot the name of the company, but it was so darn good. You know what? I'm going to give him props on the show.
Give him props.
It is. Hold on. Oh, darn it. You know what? I forgot. I don't have this card. Anyway, I'll tweet it out after the show, but it's a sorry, my man. But he was doing, it's a small company. They're doing probably $2 million a year in top line revenue. They're growing crazy quickly and they've got really good products, but that's a newer company with, I think he's got 5 or 6 employees and no marketing agency. So let me put it this way, 5 or 6 person company doing a few $1 million top line revenue, right? Growing quickly, got some good stuff.
Yeah.
But he's not a digital marketing ninja, but he's still running some best practice stuff.
But that's where his growth is going to be. Correct. Right?
So I would say if he can do...
We were just talking about this, there are only 200,000 people here, right? How many of them go out and buy fishing equipment?
Correct. So let me put it this way. Someone with half a dozen employees and a few $1 million in top line revenue, he just started in 2017. And, there's a reason why he's growing quickly, because, again, as a 21st century business person, all the things in my book and all the things that are best practices should be as common sense as, hey, what revenue are you going to end the year at? What are your projections for 2019 or 2020? Right. And as a CEO, you're like, well, I have no idea. That's not an acceptable answer. Right. So again, that would be an example of a real best practice. And honestly, with a company that's not, they don't have 1,000 employees, they got 6.
Yeah, that's remarkable.
Yeah,
So, as a leader, this CEO, this stuff is evolving. I mean, it is rapid, the change. I mean, you're talking about every 6 months, LinkedIn or Facebook changes an algorithm, or they change their...
more often, but yeah, there is a tectonic shift every...
Right. How do you keep sharp? How do you keep fresh? How do you keep so that you know that your team is doing good work?
Yep.
How do you keep in the game? Because you have to be. If you're, I mean, because you're doing the proposals, you're doing, you're out there doing.
So I cheat. I'm lucky because I get to talk to my professional media buyers, the men and women who I work with, who actually, like, this is their job and mission in life. So I cheat because I talk to them, and I'm still with a lot of
you give it a few hours a week.
With a lot of chagrin to my president, my senior vice president. I still dabble. So I'm still, and this sounds insane, I still personally, every month, I still work on the back end of Google, Facebook, and Instagram, and I need to get started with, I haven't touched LinkedIn, which is a mistake. I need to get more actively involved in buying ads on LinkedIn. I'm the CEO of a digital marketing agency. If I wanted to, I would never have to touch this forever.
Right.
Forever.
Right.
That would be a massive mistake.
Okay.
The second that the CEO or president of a digital marketing agency forgets what the hell is new in digital marketing, and or they're being told versus experiencing it.
Right.
There's a difference between reading a book or going to a conference and actually doing the damn work yourself. The second that I stop knowing what I'm talking about as a digital marketer is the very day that my company, from a quality of work, starts going like this. Maybe not crashing, but I can't tell you how many owners, I'll just say from a marketing agency, how many owners of digital marketing agencies aren't digital marketers.
Right.
It's like hiring a law firm that's being run by a guy that was an executive at a waste management company. It's like hiring an accounting firm where it was a professional yoga instructor as the head accountant. I'm not kidding. People think that you can run a good digital marketing agency, and I'll do the vulnerable thing. We do good creative. We are not a brand marketing agency. I've got good designers. We've built good websites and landing pages. We are not the best at. If you want to rebrand your company, we're not the best. And by the way, that's easy money. That's easy money because you're never wrong. I'll go on a diatribe, but easy versus hard money. But I'm okay saying that. Why? I'm not an art director. My president isn't an art director. My senior vice president is an art director. I'm a digital marketer. That's why our digital marketing is better than companies 4 times our size. But I will not have the audacity to say that our creative is the best in the world. We work with great agencies who are perfect at it, and we do very good, take existing creative and then weaponize it, right? Build websites. So I think in the same vein, human beings that run a digital marketing agency, they aren't digital marketers. Like, the audacity for men and women at a VP, CEO, CMO level of a marketing firm who have never done a keyword build, I think that is irresponsible. And it's the same thing as if you hired a law firm and you had someone who was a tennis instructor who owned the law firm. Like, I'm sorry, that doesn't pass anybody's sniff test. And some art director running, oh no, we do digital marketing. Like, because again, it goes from the top down. Thought leadership and expectations go from the top down. And if anyone disagrees, they haven't worked in a marketing firm.
What is one of the things I would imagine.
That was my soapbox for the day.
That's good. It's all good.
You bore that well.
It's all good.
You bore it well.
But it raises for me. It raises a couple of questions. Because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, all right, you've said, okay, we've got to do these core things. We've got to think about it in this way. And then you brought up the young guy that's got the $2 million business now that's really blowing up.
Doing great.
What?
Now I want to find him, by the way.
What kind of budget, right?
Okay.
So let's take him for an example. What do you think? What would you expect to spend to put together a really good platform, a really good program, something that you could that would work, right? You said weaponize it. I like that word.
Yep.
Right. What should he? Well, I mean, if I'm listening to this right now, and I've got I'm doing some good retail, but I want to put it out there and grow my e-commerce side. How do I do that?
Okay.
What am I? looking at?
So I'll break it down by kind of like type of company, because
Right.
running a bank is not the same thing as running a restaurant, which is not the same
Fair
thing as
enough.
running a law firm.
It's a loaded question.
Well,
but-
that's fine, but there's a similar core playbook for everyone, and then there are stuff that is unique for B2B, which is unique for e-com. But there's a core set of things, tactics, and there's a few things that are only right for B2B, and there's a few things right for e-com.
Okay.
But really quickly, I want to go back. His name's Casey, and he runs a company called Toadfish Outfitters, based in Charleston. Just met him last night, and that's example like so. Finished our conversation in the elevator. 3 seconds later, I get hit with an amazing retargeted, rich media, good, high quality, rich media, super targeted, because I was on his exact product page, and it wasn't the general ad. It was like it was ninja level. He's got 6 employees. Just started the company 2 years ago. So let me put it this way: now he's smart, but if Casey can do it, everyone listening to this can do it.
Right.
Okay, because he is not a professional marketer. He's a product specialist. He's an entrepreneur. He doesn't have a me on his board, or I'm not their chief marketing officer.
Right.
He's not hiring a marketing agency. I'm telling you,
That looks like a homemade video.
it's probably good lighting and an iPhone. So what I'm trying to say is there's no excuse for like, well, we can't do that. We can't afford an agency. He can't either. Okay. So back to your question. So everyone in the world, I don't care if you're in a coffee shop, a Ferrari dealership, a pencil manufacturer, or a 150-year-old, equipment company. You lease dump trucks, or you're a part of, you run a particle physics, whatever. Doesn't matter. You have to run because it's cheap, it's effective, and you can often build stuff yourself.
Okay.
These things, I don't care what you do. Trade name search, which is when you Google or Bing, which is still, I guess, a word, when you Google something that is the name of your company and another word or phrase that highly indicates that's a good customer. So my company's name is Level Agency, and when someone in America Googles Level Agency pricing or products or services, I'm going to be the ad bidding on that keyword phrase. You also need to do a good job. You can't just do it and do it poorly, because then you'll fail and you think Google doesn't work and you're wrong. I intentionally do not bid, and I do what's called a negative match when someone Googles Level Agency jobs. Because I don't want to advertise to people looking for jobs. They're okay using my organic listing, my regular website, if they want to look for a job. But I don't want to pay money for someone looking for a job. So doing trade name search for every company on earth. Mm-hmm. Like, let me put it this way. The biggest, aside, we've got in Charleston some big companies, Boeing, Volvo. Boeing might spend 5 figures a month on trade name search. Boeing. 5 figures. And by the way, and that would be an absurd example, so for most people listening, there's no way you're going to spend more than 4 figures on trade name search if you do it correctly. There's no way. I think we spend, as an agency, I spend a few $100 a month.
Okay.
I wish I could spend more, but I can't, because there's not that many people Googling Level Agency and a list of these words that are, and then the ones that I don't want, right? My point is, trade name search, when I say cheap, like if you can't afford trade name search, it means you can't afford air conditioning. Okay, number one. Number two, it is crazy profitable if done well for every company on earth. And if it's not crazy profitable, it means you're doing it wrong, which is fine if we just get beyond the ego. Trade name search always works, literally always works. Do it right. And as I say in the book, you don't need an agency, because you do have to have some education. You either read my book, or there's a few other books. A guy named Neil Patel is a borderline genius, if not a genius, in the world of digital marketing, and Neil has a ton of content on his website.
Yep.
Anyway, so that's one, and the other 2 things are retargeting banner ads, and as I just showed you, retargeting social media ads, right? So again, it's knowing when people visit your website and then showing them an advertisement in the next few minutes or hours, knowing that they visited your site.
How did he do that? What's that?
Cookies.
Cookies.
Okay. You know, I was on a site, Facebook. You put a little pixel on every page of your website. You put a Facebook pixel and a Google pixel, because Google runs a banner ad network too. And you basically put 2 pixels, little pieces of code, on every piece of your website. And the most basic web developer can do this.
So if you're using like Square, or not Square, but any of the web
HubSpot,
platform,
I mean, any marketing automation platform, it could be whether it's WordPress or one of the marketing automation systems that or you've done Wix, or one of the simple.
Right.
Yes, you can. It's let me put it this way. I haven't. Actually, my wife's business is on Wix, Woman didn't even ask me to build her website, which is nice.
Nice.
That's how tough she is. Talk about independent, right? I run a marketing agency, and my wife doesn't ask me to do marketing, which might speak to other things. Anyway. But I think even with the one-in-one or the Wix or the very off-the-shelf websites, I believe you can put a little pixel on the web page.
Okay.
I don't think that's, again, our agency doesn't use them, but I think, again, it's a little pixel, so Facebook and Google knows when a human visits your site, and it's a third-party cookie, so it follows you around.
Okay.
It's really simple.
Really basic.
Really basic. Okay. So those are the three things. And then for every other company in the world, there's a different playbook. So for e-com, there's one playbook. For B2B, there's another playbook with different kinds of advertising. But those three things, and then landing pages are the fourth. But for every company in the world, even e-com, trade name search, retargeting social ads, and retargeting banner ads.
Okay.
They are cheap. I mean cheap. Like if you can afford clothing, you can afford them.
Right.
And they're easy to
build.
And you should. I hope you're not going to work naked. And if you are, would like to have our next power lunch.
We could make that happen, and it might be interesting.
Kidding.
My ratings would go through the roof.
I'm not really kidding, but I'm kidding.
No? Okay. Well, you could change your name to. What was that conversation we were having earlier? Well, hey, this has been great, Thomas, and it's great to be here in Charleston. It's great to be with you. Thank you so much. I think you're just a wealth of knowledge, and I think I'm sure you're taking new clients. How can people find you? How can people learn about the work? Tell us all about that.
Yeah, again, I love talking about what I do. I don't know much, but in the world of 21st century marketing, I do love it. So if you'd like, it's really easy to find me. It is tomdonohoe.com. You can actually misspell it because under the best practices, you should buy misspellings of your URL.
That's right.
So it's Tom Donohoe, Donohoe. You can shoot me a note, and I'm very good at very few things in the world, and marketing is one of them. So if they want to reach out, I'd be happy to answer some questions.
And the book is called The CEO's Digital Marketing Playbook. You can find it on Amazon too, right?
You can.
All right. Well, go out and buy that. I've read it. I know enough to be dangerous now, and as you should be too. But you ought to know, and I think you're absolutely right. It's one of those essential things to know now.
In 10 years, it should be ubiquitous, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope we're doing better at teaching this in our MBA courses and our.
But also marketers, as professionals, it's our responsibility to share these things. I believe.
Absolutely. But anyway, thank you for joining the Power Lunch today. This has been a late afternoon, but thank you for spending some time with us. You are why we do the show, and hopefully you learned something today that's valuable that you can take away and make your business better. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we're going to do a show around 12 noon Eastern Standard Time here, live from Charleston, and we're going to be at another venue. And then I think tomorrow at 3 o'clock we're going to do one from out on the water. So we're going to have some fun this week on location and remote. And so bear with us as we go outside and we travel a little bit to talk to people and get out of the studio, which is nice to do sometimes. But anyway, thank you for joining the Power Lunch. Go to the website, powerlunch.live, to check out the schedule. We're going